Hey guys, welcome to another Beyond All Reason video analysis. Today we're going to be looking at Nikitadrakon as he plays Supreme Strait Frontline. Let's get into it. Alright, let's see. Alright, 2 mechs opener, the 3 wins. Alright. Usually when 3 mechs are so close together, you want to try to grab all 3 right away. The way you do that is grab 2 metal extractors, then grab your first wind, then grab your third metal extractor, and then the rest of your wind here, your 2 additional wind. With bots, you don't really need to do that. You could get construction bots out ASAP to start working on your economy, but you do want to grab this right away. And then also notes on this map on Supreme Strait, you have these 4.3 mexes all along the center here. And actually the map just got renamed to Supreme Isthmus, so there's that. Well, but yeah, these are much bigger mexes, and you want to try to grab those ASAP as well. Let's see, you're adding on the 4th mex here. I like this opener. Looks like you got a resbot out to start eating some metal. You're even greeting for the enemy metal here. Like to see it. You have a grunt out to protect it. Let's see how much you can get done with that. Meanwhile, you just add on some more wind at home. That all looks good. Whoops, I apparently don't have your view on properly. There we go. Got to see what was coming a little bit early. But yeah, enemy res bots, couple of ticks here. Pretty easy for the pawn to deal, or I'm sorry, the grunts to deal with it. So you get all that forward metal. You could actually reclaim this guy too, which is another 66 just right there. So that would be useful as well. You have a second combat out here now too to eat some of this metal, so you're greeding pretty hard for that metal. You haven't grabbed this quite yet. I would like to see that grabbed a little bit sooner. I think that would help just give you some additional metal to work with. But yeah, you're moving up here quite nicely, eating all the metal. No resistance quite yet. Lots of grunts. Nice low opener here from you in terms of military units. But yeah, this could definitely be grabbed sooner. Even if you overflow, it's fine. It goes to your team. So I mean, as long as somebody has it, you know, like it's good to have. But when you have so many resources, you want to add on some more build power. In this case, it looks like you're trying to add on a construction turret. Now, that's fine and dandy. Some people recommend that. I would actually say, instead of getting this construction turret so early and getting these guys, I would get maybe a couple more construction bots and use those bots to assist the lab. And then those bots, I mean, you could have one of them grabbing the metal here and then building some wins for later. Maybe not so close to the front line. Maybe you want your win back here. This is usually what I would recommend, is something like that, or maybe out here or something, you know, just somewhere else, because this can get taken out pretty easily. But anyways, yeah, you send a construction bot, you know, to grab that mex and then build some wins, and then you have a secondary one to start building these mexes. Basically, you want that metal coming in as soon as possible. And if you had a couple more construction bots here, you could also use that metal that you currently have, so you shouldn't be quite as full if you get enough of them. Because yeah, usually the limiting factor is the construction, or you know, usually is metal, and so since you got all that reclaim, you can use that metal to get out even more construction bots and get your economy rolling even faster. And then yeah, this rally, I feel like it's just been the default rally. You could send it out here. I like to see a rally more in this direction, because that way your stockpile units, you know, is around here and very easy to get to the front line. Also, your commander is just sitting here. He could grab this mex as well. Oh, nice little detail of tanks running through. But yeah, you get your thugs out. Looks like you got an idle con here. You are building that wins. Yeah, so yeah, a little bit of idle time there. Now that the construction tower is done, you can, you know, add this on rather quickly. And yeah, so now that you have Okay, so this SAM site is actually eating all your energy. Um, yeah, okay. Let me talk about that first. So the SAM site in um, this game, like I feel like this is a bit early for that much anti-air. You could probably get away with a couple of thistles. At most, the air player is going to have like a bomber at this time, and you could actually get away with just not having an anti-air right now, and just you know, get more units out. Because 300 metal is, you know, a couple of thugs here, and actually it's more than 300 metal. It's 315, so you'd actually be able to afford 2 thugs with that and a little bit extra. Um, but yeah, as it is, you kind of need more energy going on, and you need more metal going on. I would prioritize those if you can, and then, you know, maybe in a few more minutes, then maybe get the SAM. Although that is quite the, I don't know, it feels like a lot of anti-air. You could probably get away with a couple of thistles here. But yeah, doing a good job here on the front with your thugs. Fortunately, your energy is quite low, so your towers aren't doing as much, but the commander does walk into it, blows up, and now you get some juicy metal. I like the fact that you aren't like just eating it right away. You could, but given that there are some enemy units here, it's kind of nice to have a tower to help protect that wreckage. Then again, you do have a lot of units too, so I don't know if the tower is really that necessary. But either way, you're going to get that wreck and get some nice fat metal out of it. But again, try to get this sooner. I see you did build this one on, so that's good. Yeah, you're just getting your wind going. When you start wind like this, since you have so much metal, you might want to have a second constructor building wind. And that either means having like a second block. Whoops, that's not a box. A second block of wind going up with the second constructor, or you could have that constructor just assist the first constructor, which is totally fine. The only time I wouldn't recommend that is for vehicles, because vehicles, like, they take forever to turn around, and they just basically they stumble on each other all the time when they're assisting construction. So, but for bots, it's fine. Here it looks like you are eating your bot lab. You're getting a T2. I'd say definitely never, ever, ever do this on the front line. Ever. Basically, whenever... So the whole thing is, somebody should be making T2. And that somebody you could pay 470, you know, I almost called them minerals, but no, 470 metal for that T2 instead of building the lab for it. And so you could just do that instead. And actually, since you have so much metal, you could buy some switchers or some consoles with it whenever that happens. But yeah, with all the metal that you've gotten, you know, you're kind of like starting T2 when, you know, one of your back players is starting T2. You know, obviously this guy's just ahead and has the T2 faster. So you could pay him for that T2 to have it now instead of having to wait for the lab. You know, on T2, basically when you get your first constructor, you want to upgrade your mexes ASAP, because that's the biggest thing that limits your army, right? To get the mexes upgraded even faster, and to you know, get enough energy to support T2, usually you want like a fusion. And so what people do, especially in high OS games, is after they build the lab, if they're the guy building the lab, you know, they'll you know, build the constructors, build a metal storage, and eat the lab. They get rid of the lab so that they have the money to upgrade the mexes quickly and to build that fusion quickly. You know, so that just like is a way to get your, you know, to pour more money into getting them upgraded sooner so that you get more money in the long run. So in this case, yeah, don't build it, buy it. And yeah, this guy is unfortunately Armada, so the best you can get is maybe some butlers, you know, whereas like a console or a switcher could provide some T2 units. You know, like a console, for example, you know, can build hounds, and so you can just like queue up some hounds, put it on repeat, and then the console will just keep building some hounds, and then you just have your construction bots assist that, and then you don't even need the lab until you want something different. But yeah, buy the T2 lab. I mean, you can afford it, but like, you know, it's just like, why? You might as well just buy it and get your mexes. And if you feel like it takes too long to get the builder to your base, you could buy a transport from your air player. You know, it's pretty cheap to get a transport. If you want to pay for it, you could give them a wins. That's pretty standard procedure. Or you could just pay, you know, the normal metal amounts. I think it's something like 60 or something like that. I could be totally wrong on that. Unfortunately, Brown is just kind of sending units and then dying. Well, I guess he's keeping these here. But yeah, every time he loses something out here, that means they get metal and now can contest you a lot more. Nice little push here. Looks like you caught your opponents off guard. Now these whistlers are going down for free. Nice. So you're just getting all of them for not much damage. So while you have your thugs out here, you might be able to actually just eat some of this metal that's out here too. That would be useful. And then at this point, I noticed that your energy is so low that you can't even afford this T2 lab. So yeah, this is just going too slowly. So anytime your energy dips down, like, you know, so drastically, and dips down to 0, you know, you might already have a guy building wind or something like that, but just have a second guy. In the long run, you might just end up with extra winds, and I mean, on this map, that's actually fine. In terms of metal costs, like wind at 14 is actually equivalent to an APHIS for Cortex. You know, so it's totally fine. Let's see where you build in here. Okay, so you just go straight into Sheldons. You know, that's kind of fine too. Get some Sheldons. I mean, I don't think you really need to add anything on right here, right now. But you can. These solars I would not get. Basically because they cost so much metal. It's basically just you need to get this sooner, but I guess considering you don't have a second guy getting it, that's kind of like an okay thing for now. I just, you know, long term you want to get rid of these for sure. Meanwhile on the front line, looks like you and Red are pushing pretty nicely up here, denying that's what's it called, jammer. Nice to do because, you know, the Armada one's cloaked, so if you find it and kill it before it even gets done, then, you know, that's great for you. But yeah, just upgrading your mexes. Yeah, so even if you're going to keep the lab and you want to get units, I would actually say don't build units until these mexes are upgraded, because basically you're making these mexes take longer to build this way. And if you just stop production, that at least will provide some metal to upgrade it faster. And then it also frees up your construction turret to help build the extractors. Because the sooner you get those up, the more, you know, the quicker you get that extra metal income going on, and then you can more quickly build units out of the lab. You know, so it's kind of like just too many things going on at once. Jellyfish, this is fine, but again, you got all this other stuff going on, so it's kind of a lot. Yeah, so far up here, just like a nice chill, like do some damage, but you're also very careful with it. You're not like sacrificing your units. There's some extra metal back here still, by the way. I don't know if that was your guy or not. Rest in peace if it was. Let's see, do you have your res bots around this? Bit of an air battle. Well, not an air battle, but sea against air, I guess. I don't see your res bots, so yeah, they must have gotten picked off at some point, unfortunately. In this position, you know, this mex here is kind of like, well, it's kind of like in my opponent's face, like there's no way I'm gonna hold that, so why even bother? But honestly, like building a regular mex, and if you hold it for like, you know, a few seconds, like it actually pays for itself, so it's kind of fine. I think it should be what, 25 seconds to pay for it. If it's a 2.0. This is a 4.3, so like it actually takes far less than that actually. Another thing you can do is, well, I suppose I was gonna say if you're Armada, you could put down a Twilight so it's cloaked. Obviously you can't do that because you're Cortex, but an Exploiter has a lot more hit points. It can take some damage, and it's kind of like having a tower on top of your mechs. Um, so it's just a way to like hold the mechs for a bit longer, but it does cost 200 instead of 50. So something to consider. Yeah, you got your commander up here eating some stuff. Artillery pieces are shelling you a little bit. Nothing too drastic. Alright, so now you're putting a jammer up here, so that's nice as well. Alright, so here's your fusion. Yeah, this is going to take a while because you're also producing units. And it's going to take a while because you have the lab here. Wait, are you eating it? Oh. Yeah, so I guess you're reclaiming it for some reason. Not sure why. Decided against it. And I don't know if it's a situation where you're trying not to overbuild energy. By the way, I mean, you can get it eaten quicker like that, but honestly, like, um, you could just let it sit there and slowly die while you use your build power on other stuff. So it looks like you decided to go for an advanced solar collector. I do not recommend these ever on this map, because wind is just so good. I mean, you have enough energy. I feel like you have enough energy for the fusion. I guess I didn't see it when you were building it. But to me, you should have just gone for the fusion here. Mainly because basically, basic solars are the most inefficient ways to get energy. Advanced solar collector is just a step up above that. It's really not great either. I guess just to put it in perspective, on the tooltip here it says, for Cortex, if your solar collector average winds, or it's better to build solar collectors when average wind speed is below 6 for Cortex, and 5 for Armada. And that has to do with how expensive wind is for each faction. But when it comes to advanced solars, the numbers are actually 7.5 for Armada and 9.1 for Cortex. So it's better than the basic solar collector, but it's still way less efficient than getting just wind. And if you ever need to get a lot of wins, just have more guys working on it, is what I would suggest. In this case, like, if wind speed is okay, you can afford the fusion. And I don't think you really need this middle step here. But if the wind dips down a lot, then you might need something else. So if you're worried about that, you could get a storage, and that'll just help smooth it over so that you can get that fusion a lot easier. Dragon's Maw up front, so I like to see it. You have to be a little bit careful because artillery can shell this position pretty easily, but you do have the Sheldons back here, so you can fight back for sure. Yeah, and I like this push up a little bit. You're definitely being very methodical about it. You're not just running in there with your Sheldons, gun blazing, and trying to kill stuff and then losing them all. You're whittling them away from a distance. And you got jammer support and radar support, so this is all looking really good up here. Back at base. Yeah, so Screamer is another like heavy duty kind of thing. And I would definitely suggest going for a fusion first. By the way, when air comes through, well, I guess I'm noticing that your air player is rather weak, so this makes a little bit more sense with that context. Because they don't have a lot of air outs. In fact, it looks like they've been greeting for fusions and stuff, so it makes sense that you want anti-air. But I would say hold off on it until you have a fusion. Usually when air attacks, they're not going to be bombing the front players because that's much less consequential. They're going to be going for the backline players. These are the players that are most at risk for bombers. And then also the players that lead into it, like these players. You know, because basically the bombers will probably be coming in from some side direction. You know, throw some bombs here on their way over to the backside bases and bomb there. So you don't have to worry too much about air here, or you know, having anti-air in your base for that. Um, yeah, I mean, screamers are nice. They have such long range. They're not as efficient as doing like a flak. So if you're trying to cover only your base, I would suggest a flak, and I would build it maybe like out here, um, or something, because you know if you build it in the middle of your base, then basically bombers would be able to drop their payload before they die. You know, so try to build flak like on the outskirts of your base instead of in it. But yeah, it's just a rather big expense for this early. You know, that 1650 metal, and that 1650 metal could have gone into a fusion to help with your energy problems, because it is. I mean, it's not like too much. It's not too little, I suppose, at this point. But ideally, you want to keep scaling up and getting more build power and stuff. Oh man, medium tanks just kind of rolling in just to die. Yeah, this is a great position for you and red. Unfortunately, the C players aren't doing as well. Both of them are not holding C, so that means there is a lot of area that the enemy can attack from, but that area is really not going to really be hitting you. It's going to be more coming in at pink. It's going to be coming in at yellow. It might come over here to red. So they're already taking some nice precautions with these mines, and things like that. But yeah, it's going to be annoying having these frigates, or I guess these are destroyers, shelling you guys. Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that Brown set up some air screen. It looks like all of his fighters are just dying here. Definitely something to pay attention to. By the way, people that get nukes, put it in the center between people. Like here would have been better, so that it's anti-nuke around both you and pink. Yeah, like orange's anti-nuke here, it's much better. It has a lot more players within the circle. Rattlesnake's a nice addition here to the front. It's quite a few artillery and it's pounders. That's unfortunate you didn't build that fusion. Because if you had, your energy would be a lot smoother right now. Yeah, you'd actually be able to pump out of this T2 lab a lot faster. You'd have like way more Sheldons. Or you could support the Sheldons with something like Sumos. Great support unit. Just having a line of them. Oops. Having a line of Sumos, like say here, and they just like push as a line forward, and then having your Sheldons behind the Sumos with your jammers and stuff. It can be quite nice, especially when you're up against T1. Like you should be able to flatten this entire thing with just that. I mean, you can try Fiends. Fiends do quite well against T1 as well. So I mean, they're just much more. Like their damage is much more explosive. Like they get in there, they deal damage, and they die. Whereas like a sumo push would be more of a sustained kind of army, where you can push it in and pull it out. Things like that. And given that this is a base right here, and he's basically held up in his base, you could get some arbiters here as well, just to shell the base itself and take out the mexes and things like that. Which, may or may not prompt him to attack you back, because now his base is getting shelled and he's losing units and stuff, so it would make sense for him to want to attack. Not that he would be able to, because you guys got a nice army here of T2, so I mean, you guys are definitely ahead in that category. Alright, so you're adding that fusion on now. By the way, you don't need two. I would not recommend two Tech 2 constructors because they are kind of expensive for the amount of build power that they add on. You know, they add 180, which is almost as much as the turret, but the turret only costs 210. You know, whereas these guys cost 470, so it's quite a bit more to add on that build power. If you're gonna add on like mobile build power, I would get Twitchers. They only, you know, they only have 125 build power, but they only cost the same amounts as a construction bot. Or I'm sorry, a construction turret. You know, so like it's not as strong, but they're mobile and they can build stuff on their own. So I mean, you know, it is a better, more efficient form of build power. See, Red here has the right idea with the ambassadors. Not that you don't. I mean, you know, Sheldons are good units to have here. But yeah, being able to shell and destroy this base is huge. Oh wow, quite a few fat boys coming in. They're so slow. You know? Okay, here comes some tick spam. That's kind of where you come in because you got the Sheldons. I'm going to be doing a little bit nicer against the spam here. But now that you see some official spam, you might want to, yeah, get a few feeds. I'm trying to figure out how bad the sea is. They might start shelling you soon. Yeah. So he has some ships here. Jammer would be nice, but he already knows where your base is. I don't know how much that would really help. I mean, you could get the, yeah, it looks like you're going to get the Overseer here. It's so expensive. 3,200 for that. I mean, I suppose just one will be well enough for right now. Anti-nuke goes off. Oh, I think you lost all your Sheldons up there. Bernie, you pulled your army back, took some losses though. Oh boy, the fat boy's just got slammed on. Arbiter's trying, oh no, Ambassador's trying to do some attack back. Yeah, you kind of need a, I mean, you have a radar bot, I suppose. Oh, I guess you do have radar all the way out. Does he have jamming then? Is that what's up? Sonar. Okay, here's the jammer. Wow, that's a bigger radius than I thought. So yeah, these are completely off the radar. Let's go back to your view. Or, yeah, and Juno's flying in as well, so you can't really see as well because of that either. Unfortunately, it looks like nobody has a Juno to support that. Oh, I saw a nuke going up back there. Too many labs. Yeah, lots of greed, but you guys are holding, so it's kind of fine. And it's Gremlin trying to see. Oh no. Unfortunate. Yeah, with battleships you might need to. I'm not 100% sure on that, but yeah, it makes sense. You guys getting pushed back a little bit at this point. Okay, so you build a Juno. That makes sense. I mean, it's not ideal. You know, ideally a back player would do it, but you're the one that kind of needs it. So I was looking at the chat real quick. That's a lot of shine. It looks like it's a flagship now. Yeah. Yeah, now that you have a fusion, reclaim these solars, you don't need them. Same with the advanced solar, you don't need it. Just more wind. Keep the wind. I'm not sure if you really need two Junos. But yeah, you definitely need more build power to like utilize some of that metal you got. Yeah, it's kind of rough at this point. You kind of need your team to like be pushing. Okay, sniper's coming in, so that's good. I'm trying to think of the ways that you can help in this position, you know, at this time. I mean, usually, you know, by this point, like both sides, like the front lines are kind of destroyed, or you know, taking heavy damage. So there's a lot of rebuilding. But since you know, you guys haven't been damaged, it's kind of like, okay, where do you go from here, knowing that both C sides are lost. Actually, yellow might be making a comeback here. Oh, I missed what happened in the back here. Pink got messed up. Looks like some marauders are coming in though. Hopefully they can do something with that. Alright, Juno. Yeah, I mean, having something to shell that back would be nice. I don't think the Arbiter can reach. Yeah, it's only 12 ton range, you know, whereas these battleships and stuff, or I should say these flagships, let's see, they got, yeah, 2550 or 2450 for their big guns. Yeah, unfortunately, you can't really do much about it. Oof. Something got in. Or was it the overseer that died? I guess I don't know. That thing's dead. But yeah, you're the frontline position, so you kind of just get bullied here. I mean, I suppose one of the things you can do is like kind of get some of your build power out of there and start building somewhere else. It's pretty likely that this is going to start falling soon. Oof. Yeah, those ambassadors doing some work. At least I assume they're ambassadors, they could be negotiators or arbiters though. Spam is always a good addition, by the way. You know, even if someone else is spamming, like having more spam is kind of even better. Just overwhelming a position is always quite nice. Yeah, there goes the commander, and yeah. So I mean, this is pretty typical of Frontline. If your team isn't, you know, moving a lot of stuff around. Unfortunately, I think Pink got stopped. You know, Blue has all these flagships here just shelling everywhere. Yellow got destroyed once again, apparently. And so yeah, it's just hard because a lot of the backline people are, you know, have taken a lot of damage. And so you guys just kind of get overrun, and you know, I don't think a lot of this was really your fault. I think you played reasonably well, other than maybe some of your energy stuff. I think the spam really did it to you guys, and then you guys got all the battleships that are just shelling everywhere. And, it's really hard to be able to afford, you know, everything at once. You know, getting all the plasma deflectors and stuff for the battleships, and then worrying about the front line at the same time. And it is a lot. You know, and it's not necessarily all on you to fight so many different players and deal with all these different things at once. Yeah. And a lot of the damage, you know, that happens in the back line, you didn't have any control over either, so I mean, there's not much to do there either. So, yeah, this is pretty much over at this point. You know, Red's taking some damage over here now. Brown's not in a great spot, and people are starting to leave here, so that's about it. But I really liked your play early on with your resbots and your grunts. It worked out really well. I feel like you might need to build 2 grunts or something like that, but I mean, the more that you build, obviously it's going to sink your metal back. And it really depends on how much resistance you're needing. And then, so you did a good job with getting the reclaim, but yeah, just grabbing the metal extractors sooner. Even if you can't quite use it, just have them sooner so that the metal can go to your teammates. Now, if you want to use it, and you probably want to use it, right? Obviously, no matter what, grab the extractors, and to utilize it properly, you need enough build power. And you can say, well, I don't have enough energy to utilize that build power, and that, at a lot of the times that can be true. So have another constructor building some wings, or even a 3rd constructor, a 4th constructor. Just like whatever it takes to, balance your economy so that your metals doesn't start gaining. So you can grab all these mechs up here and utilize all that metal. But yeah, with that you should be able to get more units out, and perhaps you can communicate with Red and say like, hey, I kind of want to push hard here, because I feel like you guys were in a position where you could possibly do something, but then it was just like, okay, he has a ton of units, I can't really do anything there. But you could have still gone up here, maybe attacked that player. Red could have held this player at bay, by positioning here. And then you'd be able to actually destroy this player, and then, that's at least 1 player down. And then you and Red can move on this player together, and then it should be like an easier time from there. And then that basically will set off a chain reaction of like, okay, these players definitely need to help ASAP because the front 2 players are dying, right? Which basically means they can't greed for more economy, whereas, since you and Red are doing so well, the players behind you can now greed a little bit harder. So I guess just trying to be a little bit more aggressive, but at the same time, in this particular game, you didn't have enough units to be aggressive with, and that was mainly because of not having your economy quite in order, and then trying to greed for T2. And while T2 did help a lot with the Sheldons and stuff, you guys didn't push at that time when you could have. So doing a little bit of rearranging with not getting the T2 lab too early, trying to buy it, or instead buying that T2 from somebody else and moving them up to get those mexes. Doing things like buying a transport to move that T2 constructor up to your base faster, and then all of a sudden, grabbing your mexes, and if you had kept building wins, now all of a sudden you have enough energy to build a fusion and get that fusion faster, and then you can pump out T2 units from there. Because yeah, at a certain point, it's sort of like, well, with all the happenings in the game, you kind of need to consider like, okay, my team just took damage, somewhere, at some points, and maybe you didn't know this in the game or whatnot. That's, partly could be, that like maybe they can communicate that better, or B, maybe you can look around more and see that they took damage. But either way, try to find out, what's actually going on in the game, because the more your damage your team takes, the more that you guys kind of need to make something happen, since you are doing so well in the front. Now, if your team takes no damage and the enemy team takes damage instead, well, now you have more options of what you want, what you can do. You could greed a little bit more, or you could produce a lot more units. But yeah, knowing how C was, because C was kind of behind, wasn't doing so well. It's kind of like, that alone should tell you like, okay, we kind of should push before, big ships come out. And then it'll just be kind of a nicer game if you're able to do more damage to these front players. And again, that means these other 2 players need to come online. That means they need to hold the front now, if these 2 players die. So then that means you in red, and hopefully, some of these other guys, like this guy here and this guy here, can start pushing with you guys, and now it's 4 against 2. And it's much better odds if you guys, do it right. So, um, yeah, I mean, communication, trying to figure out what your teammates are doing, and if you feel like you guys are in a position where you need to push harder, ask your teammates like, hey, we kind of need to push right now and trying to get stuff done. Sorry, I'm just circling that to circle it for nonsense. Um, I think that would change the course of this game quite a bit. Um, but yeah, I feel like that was a lot of information. If you have any questions or anything, let me know. If you have, either on what I've said or something I just straight up didn't address, leave a comment below or ask in the thread. Feel free to post it wherever the heck. And I'll see you around. Thanks for watching.